You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a part of the Dead End Podcast Network. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and all other podcasting services. Please make sure you check out Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports, Dead End Gaming, Is the Mic Still On, Chris Platt's Strictly Hip Hop and Hoops Talk, and a host of other shows on our podcast network. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Yo, what up? Welcome back to Any Given Sunday for July 14th, 2019. I'm your host, Manny Brown. What's up, everybody? My guest this week is a returning guest. I've been getting a lot of these lately, so that's a good thing. A returning guest of the show. Only one half of the crew, of the Oversat, the podcast crew. Raphael. I know he don't like to be called by his government. Raphael on Any Given Sunday. Raphael.
Hey, everybody else calls him Raph. Like nobody else. But no,
well, that makes us special, man. That makes us special, man.
Oh, exactly. But no, it's an honor to be back, man. I appreciate the invite. Johnny's on vacation right now. He just live a good life.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Johnny, who's currently on an excursion of Montana. So shout out to him. Right. Congratulations to his family. His sister's getting married and all that good stuff. So shout out to him as he's on his trip and safe travels and all that good stuff, man. But yeah, that, like I said at the intro, Raphael, one half of Oversaturated, the podcast, joining us this week. Talk about a couple things. And before we get into it, man, before you do, I usually save this to the end, and I'll give you some time at the end to plug it also. But if you want to plug the latest episode of the podcast and where they can find the podcast, that's great.
Oh, go ahead and do that. Sure. It's Oversaturated, the podcast. We're on all major streaming platforms. Spreaker, Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, all those major platforms. You can go to oversatthepod.com to check out anything about the podcast, bios on me and Johnny. It's lit.
Word. And I'm on the latest episode of the podcast that was just put out this past week. Reviewing we talked about a lot of things, not just Spider-Man Far From Home, but we talked about some other things too, but mainly a Spider-Man Far From Home review. So if you have not seen that, go check it out. And if you haven't seen it and listen to the podcast, spoiler warnings are in effect. So
yes, they are.
Yeah, no doubt. And this podcast is a special one because, as you guys know who listen to the show, there's some weeks that, it's mostly a sports podcast show. So, we definitely get into a lot of the major sports news and sports things or centered on a topic in particular. But, it's the dead month of the year. I mean, we can get into the Wimbledon final with Djokovic and Federer. We can get into a lot of different things, obviously. But this weekend is special because, I wanted to talk about Stranger Things. It's fresh in my mind. We both of us just finished the season this past week. I finished it on Wednesday night. I think
Raph, Thursday.
Did you finish it on Okay, yeah, you finished it on Thursday.
Thursday.
I went back and watched some of the episodes just to kind of refresh my memory because thus is the case when you get older and with so many things going on, you just tend to forget stuff. You know what I mean? So I went back and watched some of the episodes just to kind of refresh the memory. But yeah, Stranger Things just dropped. It's probably one of, if not top 2 or 3 biggest shows on television. So if you don't watch it, I don't know what's wrong with you. You know what I mean? I don't know what's wrong with you. Like it's one of those shows that's like a pop culture thing. Like I don't know too many people that don't watch Stranger Things. There are some of you out there. So I feel bad for that, but I figured I'd do a Stranger.
Honestly, I missed the first season. I missed the hype with that. Like I'm not sure what happened, but by the time season 2 was coming out, I saw the trailers. I was like, oh, let me check this out. And I was like, oh, this is lit. So that's how we're here right now.
Yeah, that's how we're here. And I've been there since day one. Well, not really since day one. I kind of was similar. I didn't miss the first season. I kind of caught the tail end of the hype of the first season. So because everybody kept telling me, it's a really dope show. It's right up your alley, science fiction, all that good shit. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I checked it out. And like you said, here we are today. So we're definitely going to get into season 3. We're going to review it. Things we like, things we didn't like, and kind of preview season 4. But we'll get into that later. So spoiler warnings are in effect. If you have not seen Stranger Things, please, I'll let you guys know when you guys can check out if you guys just don't want to listen to it and come back and listen to it once you guys finish it. I know some people don't finish Netflix shows like that, because time, life gets in the way. I get that. So if you guys haven't finished Stranger Things and you want to come back to us and hear what we got to say about it, cool. I'll let you know within the show when we're going to start talking about it, so you can kind of check out and we'll catch us next week or whatever. If you do want to listen to us, obviously we'll get to that here in a little bit. And then of course, if you just don't want to hear it at all and you just don't want to hear us talk about Stranger Things, I don't know, you're SOL. So, it's just like, I mean, it's a dead week. I mean, how much free agency can we talk about? It's kind of, we've already kind of reached the end of the news cycle when it comes to free agency. So that's cool. Baseball season, it's kind of in its clouds modes. Like baseball season, it's like the beginning of the first 6-8 weeks of the baseball season is interesting. And then it's kind of goes into a dead period. And then it's like, you're still into that dead period until you kind of reach late August, early September. So, I'll definitely get into baseball because a lot of people have been asking me about my thoughts on what's going on in the season. I don't want to talk about my disastrous Mets. So we'll get into all things baseball in the coming weeks. I'll promise y'all that. But, for this week, we're definitely going to get into the Russell Westbrook trade. We're going to get into some things, but it's just like it's so much topics out there to talk about. You know what I mean? So
yes, there is.
So a week like this or a weekend like this, Stranger Things is in order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what else can we talk about?
I honestly don't know because, like you said, like baseball is just kind of like they're dead fan. Like I'm St. Louis Cardinals fans, like they're buried in mediocrity right now. Like the division is mediocre to me personally. So it's like, okay, you can win the division, but you definitely can't damn sure win the wild card with that record. Last time I checked.
Well, the Cardinals are in a lot better position than the Mets. I mean, but that's not saying much. But I'm kind of disappointed with I'm kind of disappointed with the Cardinals this year because I expected y'all to have a rebound year, and the Goldschmidt trade I thought was perfect, and I've been disappointed that you guys really haven't fired on all cylinders yet. But
but I think that's like you kind of get entitled being a Cardinals fan. You expect a certain level, at least making the playoffs, like this wild card and all this. This type of shit. No, we run the NL Central. We're everybody's daddy in this Central. You know what I mean? In this division. So.
Well, that's, if y'all don't make the playoffs this year, that'll be what 4 years in a row now that y'all haven't made the playoffs, which is a lot for y'all. I'm sticking a knife in. I'm sticking a knife in. By the way, if you don't,
I know because we are used to at least some deep postseason play. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
NLDS at least. You know what I'm saying? Like
Cool. Well, let's get into it, man. Before we get into Russell Westbrook and all that, for some new listeners or people that don't follow you or follow the podcast, man, just kind of a brief 2-minute intro into the show, what you guys talk about, just kind of describe your show, your history and all that good stuff. For the folks that may be checking us out for the first time that don't know about Oversaturated the podcast.
Well, like Manny said, I am one half of Oversaturated the podcast. Me and my friend, my brother, my podcast partner, Johnny, we sit down and go over music, movies, and pop culture and everything in between. We call ourselves Oversaturated the podcast because of the topics that we discuss, as well as we looked at the podcast market when we initially started over 2 years ago as being oversaturated itself. So we thought of a catchy name, so we just went with it. But we can discuss anything. Like if you listen to our latest episode with Manny, we did our main discussion topic was the Spider-Man Far From Home review, but we did discuss NBA free agency. We discussed Wimbledon. We discussed hip hop. We discussed I don't know what else we discussed, but we talked about a lot within that hour and a half of our podcast. Yeah. So if you can get a lot of nuanced conversations within our podcast. So that's one thing I think we bring to the podcast market. So check us out. Like I said, we're on all major streaming platforms.
No doubt, man. Definitely one of the best podcasts out there. So definitely check them out, man. For real. I'll let you plug your social media and all that good stuff at the end of the show, as always. But let's get into it, man. The Russell Westbrook trade went down this week. It kind of blew up Twitter. I believe it was Thursday. I believe it was Thursday evening when the trade went down or when the trade was announced. Woj dropped the bomb on him again. I wish I had one of those flex bombs that I could play right now. But it's gotten to that point with Woj where he's taking over the fun flex bombs. Like drop a bomb on him. Like it's just like how haven't they come up with this on ESPN at this point? Like just drop a Woj bomb when he's just going to drop something.
They really should, but.
Yeah. That's. I mean, hey, ESPN, if y'all want to talk, just plug my show and plug my name, and I gave y'all the idea for a flex bomb. Whenever Woj comes on with some news, what I mean. Just we could talk about it. We talk about it offline. But yeah, man, Russell Westbrook is a Houston Rocket officially. The details of the trade. I mean, I'm not gonna go through it. You guys know what the trades are. Thunder. They basically gave up first round picks in 2024 and 2026, pick swaps in 2021 and 2025. So what amounts to a total of like five first round picks for Russell Westbrook. First and foremost, let me get your like initial reaction to the trade. And do you think it's going to work? Do you see it working? Go ahead.
I think that presently constituted the way that their lineup is set up, just going off names. I'm not sure about how they'll mesh together. I think they'll still be a top tier team in the West, obviously. I think top 4, somewhere from there. But I don't love this trade. I mean, it's cool. I just don't love it. It looked cool to have Westbrook and, Harden on the same team, especially these ideations of those players, because, they were different when they were on the same team back in 2012. And I think that's what people are forgetting. It's good for fantasy stats, or if you're like an avid 2K player, to have like a big two like them. But, just from what I can see, they're so ball dominant. I'm not really sure how does this work. Like how? Like, it's who's really the point guard? Because James Harden is technically a point guard right now. So I'm like, okay, Russ plays point. So you went and got, a more hyper version of Chris Paul, like, as far as like their personalities. It's not playing style, because Chris Paul is, definitely a point guard, if you want to say that. But
and I didn't even mention Chris Paul because I didn't mention him on purpose because I really don't feel like he's going to be with the Thunder for much longer.
Oh, no. And that's another thing. I'm going to go out here and say this now. Oklahoma City, enjoy your NBA franchise while you have it. They have all these draft picks. They're moving.
Wow.
They're going back. I think they're going back to Seattle. I think that's –
wow. Really?
It's like you see it coming. Like, you have literally traded away any reason why somebody would want to go see the Thunder that lives there. Like, okay, now you don't have a –
that's major. Like, that's spicy right there. Like, so you just think the Oklahoma City Thunder, as we know it, is just done and over with.
Yeah, they're done. Like, I'm not saying when they're moving. I don't know, but I really feel like they're moving to Seattle, because the talks have been, you see it all the time if you just don't going off of what you see reported by the NBA. Adam Silver really wants a franchise in Seattle. So,
right.
Okay. Take the team that you move from Seattle, move them back.
Well, now that you bring that up, and that's interesting that you bring that up. Like, Oklahoma City is a very small market. It still doesn't make sense that there's an NBA team in Oklahoma City, and we know, and there's no need to relitigate the history of what happened with Seattle. I live out here, so I could do a whole podcast episode and a half about everything that happened and what went down with Seattle with the Sonics leaving Seattle. That being said, it never made sense from a business standpoint. To bring a team to Oklahoma City, it's just not a major market like that. It's not a free agent destination.
No.
And now that you bring it up, it's interesting because you think about it. They had Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson. I mean, they had 5 really good players. In the case of Westbrook, Harden, and Durant, 3 Hall of Famers. Like, the chances of you repeating that are slim to none. Like, there's just no chance that you'll have a run of just player development, drafting, scouting ability, and luck, quite frankly, like that again. Like, there's just no, I mean, you may be able to redo that with maybe one of those guys again, but to have 3 basically Hall of Famers that you drafted and developed, you might be right. I agree with you. I think it will happen. I think it might happen eventually. But
I think this now I'm crossing sports with this, because like this is a better version of what they did here in St. Louis with the Rams. At least, they were at least the Rams are based in mediocrity for like well over 10 seasons. Like, I think it's harder to move an NFL team, just from what I've been seeing. So, like with the NBA, okay, they've been saying these things, and this is coming from somebody that lives in St. Louis. So it's like, oh, okay, the writing's on the wall. They want to move a team, okay, and then OKC gets rid of his best 2 assets in the span of 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks. Few days, like a week from each other, personally, basically. So now, okay, I'm just throwing that out there. Don't be surprised, OKC. Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. Don't be surprised.
Well, I will say this: I don't think that they moved them with the hopes of. I don't think they traded Paul George and Russell Westbrook with the hopes of moving to Seattle. Let's clarify that.
No. That's not what I'm saying. It's not like, oh, we're just gonna move the team, because of these said reasons. But now it's kind of like rebuild mode, because like most people, like you would know, like the Oklahoma City Thunder, as they were constituted, weren't going to win the championship.
No.
Even with Westbrook and George. Okay, what were you going to do with those 2 guys?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen.
And being capped out.
Yeah, that too. So it's like, okay, you don't really have, and then you're not going to get any big big time players unless you make a hell of a trade. So that's out the window. So you get rid of Paul George. Okay, I thought that they were a good combination with each other, but I just don't think they were enough. So now, okay, we get rid of Westbrook too. Well, what do you have now?
Nothing really. And you and think about it. You had all those players that I listed, those 5 players that you drafted, developed, et cetera, especially those 3 Hall of Famers. And you got nothing to show for it. 1 finals appearance, a Western Conference finals appearance that you blew. Yeah. Like, what do you really have to show for it? Nothing.
Nothing. Not a thing.
Nothing. Now, I mean, that's interesting because you're the first person that I've heard anywhere bring that up, that like Oklahoma City may not be long for, and of course you're saying this long term, not like in the next 3 years or 5 years. Like this is more of like 8 to 10, 12 years type of thing. Like as we know it. No, I mean, I can see it. I mean, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened in the NBA. I mean, and the NBA, the one thing about the NBA, they're not quick to pull the trigger on teams. Like if they see something's not working, like they pull the trigger. Like they don't mess around. They're not going to leave a team in mediocrity in a city for decades. Like, nah. Like, how long did they give Vancouver? How long did they give Vancouver? What, 7 years maybe? And then they moved them out of Vancouver. How long did they give the Charlotte? I know they didn't relocate or whatever, but as we knew it, Charlotte Bobcats or whatever. How long did they give that before they pulled the plug on that? You know what I'm saying? Eventually, they don't hesitate. So that's the one thing about the NBA. Like they don't mess around. Like they're just like, yo, it's not working. Let's go back to stage 1. Like they recalibrate easily. So
and then even with the Kings, like they wouldn't bounce the Kings like because of their Western Conference success in the earlier 2000s. And then they just got a new arena, so it doesn't make sense for them to move.
Well, the Kings were like within an eyelash of moving. Like that's what people don't remember. Like the Kings were like it came down to like a vote in the city council, like at the midnight hour. Like Kevin Johnson had to swoop in there, like last minute. Like I mean, the Kings were on their way to Seattle.
Yeah. Then they got that brand new shiny arena. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
The Kings are not going anywhere. Well, I would think the two, and I've talked about it on the show. I think we talked about it. I want to say last week. I think we talked about it with Justin. If not a couple, I talked about it a couple times on the show. But there's a couple franchises right now that if you're the NBA, I think you're very concerned about. I think now that you bring this up with OKC, if I'm Adam Silver, I'm not concerned right now because they do have Sam Presti. They have smart people in the building, so I'm not concerned. But I think eventually, I think if in 5 years they just haven't, this rebuild hasn't gone well. They've completely fallen off the map. I think you definitely have to be worried about them. I think you have to be worried about Memphis. I think you have to be worried about New Orleans. I know New Orleans got Zion, but there's a reason why Anthony Davis didn't work in New Orleans. Like New Orleans was last in attendance. New Orleans just is not a basketball market. It's just, it never has been. It never will be. Like there's a reason, like when you lose like I've said this all the time on the show, when you lose your team to Utah,
well,
like that should tell you something.
St. Louis has lost 2 franchises. They lost
true. But I mean, that analogy doesn't always work. But I mean, it's not. But again, you lost your team to Utah. It's not like you lost your team to LA. It's not like you lost your team to Miami or New York or Boston or whatever. Like you lost the team to Utah, fam. Like
Utah, and they
exactly, and they've been even more successful.
Yes.
Exactly. So I mean, but going back to what I was saying, Memphis, New Orleans, I would throw OKC. Not right now, but I think eventually it could be a problem. The NBA's got a couple franchises that I think they need to understand. Like, I think they need to see what they got going on with them and see what they're going to do from a franchise standpoint because they're not exactly in great footing.
Yeah, the only 2 places that ideally jump off the page is Seattle and Las Vegas. Those are the 2 places that are going to get franchises immediately. Any place else would probably be like a, like kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be expansion. Like, I don't think they're going to expand because that only dilutes the product even more. That's why I hate when people bring up expansion. Like, oh, is expansion? Like, what? Are you trying to go to 33 teams? Like, it's just too much. That's too many teams. No, I would argue there's too many teams in the NBA now.
I believe that. Yeah, I definitely believe that.
So I don't think you're gonna see expansion. But what I will say is you're definitely gonna see relocation in the next 10 years. And I would throw in the Clippers in there too. By the way, not right now. Obviously, they're riding the high off Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. But let's be honest, the Clippers are the second child in LA. And I'm being nice there by saying that. Like, even if they win a championship, like that's still not going to move the needle in LA like the Lakers or the Dodgers do. It's just not good. Or the Rams. It's just not. They're not there, and they're sharing a bill. Now I don't see them relocating altogether. I think that's worse. I think that's extreme. I think that's worst case scenario for them. But I do see them leaving Staples Center eventually. I mean, it's not, and I'm not even breaking any news because they've already talked about going back to Inglewood, going back to the Forum. The renovated Forum to play most of their home games. So, I mean, again, they're still in the shadow of the Lakers because the Forum is our building. So, so nowhere they go. Exactly. So nowhere they go can they escape the Lakers shadow. So it's crazy. But I mean, I could definitely see the Clippers not playing in Staples anymore.
Yeah, I can see that too.
But I mean, but that's interesting. That's a new one. I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't really thought about it that deep yet. But yeah, Oklahoma City. I mean, as we know it, this could be the peak of basketball in Oklahoma City right now, or we could have just seen the peak of basketball in Oklahoma City. Because like you got to think about it, they're not going to luck up and get those five type of players again. They're just not. You're just not even
exactly. And then that run of just getting Westbrook, Harden, and Durant, like what was that, 3 out of 4 years, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, they drafted Durant in 2007. They drafted Westbrook in 2008, I believe.
Well, Harden was 2009.
Harden was 2009.
Well, that's fine. That was 3 years in a row.
And I think Westbrook and Ibaka were in the same draft.
So yeah, that's even more insane because like I don't think they were. I'm not talking about Durant, but just Harden and Westbrook. I don't think they were as highly touted as the Durant was. Like
no, they weren't considered once in a generation type of talent. Yeah, no, Durant
not at all. Like
no,
like because when you thought Westbrook in college, it was obviously Kevin Love's team and how the tables got turned on that that storyline, right? But it's just with thinking about it, it's like, wow, like you got 3 of those types of players in, 3 consecutive years.
What it reminds me of is Orlando. Remember Orlando in the early 90s? They got Shaq. They initially had Chris Webber, and they traded it. They traded the pick or whatever. And then they got Penny Hardaway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so something similar to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the Magic have been... They've been mediocre since 05? Since 2005?
Yeah, since they got to a final in 09 where we skull drugged them.
Oh, I forgot about those years.
Yeah, then they got to a conference. The Dwight years. They had a couple years of success. They got to a conference final, I believe, again in 2010, where they got skull drugged by the Celtics. And then after that, it's just been basically since they traded Dwight, they've been a doormat.
Okay.
I know they made the playoffs. I know they made the playoffs last year, but I mean, did the Magic?
Oh, yeah. They were on NBA TV. Like that's like okay. Yeah, they had the playoff series on NBA TV. Never mind.
Yeah. And it is easy to forget because it's like Orlando really shouldn't have been a playoff team. Like they're a playoff team just by being a playoff team, but they weren't really a playoff team. Like nobody looked at Orlando and said that's the 16th best team in the NBA.
Exactly. Now let me ask you this: like, since we're just kind of like going towards that, how do you feel about the playoff restructuring? Like, just the talk of it, getting away with that. Like, the 16 best teams rather than the best 8 in this conference and the best 8 in this conference.
Well, I don't know if you listened to my show last week, but I
think I listened to some. I didn't finish it. I think as well.
Well, me and my guest got into that last week, and I'm totally with it, man. Like I'm an extremist when it comes to this. Like I think it should be the 16th best team. Get rid of divisions, get rid of like all of that bullshit, and just make it the 16 best teams in the NBA make the playoffs, regardless of conference. Like that's what I'm with.
To it. Because I think you were talking about the how travel would.
Yeah. We were definitely talking about like pros and cons of it or whatever, and we both agreed that the cons would definitely be travel. But I like I said on that show, I'm like, you know what? For the players and the Players Association that will complain about the travel, you know what? Play better. If your team play, and I think no real shit. Like, and I think that would. What would negate some of that too, I wouldn't say negate some of that, but what's an added bonus to this is that it would do away with this devaluing of the regular season. because right now the NBA season has just been devalued. Players know that it's not worth anything. Like teams can basically skate through on load management for 2 months and they know they're going to make the playoffs because their conference, you're playing like I know, especially if you play in the East, like if you play in the East, like, bro, you could kind of skate through. Like next year, Giannis could take 20 games off. They could skate through and they could still make the playoffs as one of the top 3 seeds. Like, because the East is that weak. You probably can't get away with that in the West. I agree. But still, the NBA regular season is just not up to that level. It's just not. I mean, I always say this jokingly that I think the NBA season is really about 20, 25 games of importance. 20, 25 games. You think about it, 20 to 25 games out of an 82-game regular season.
Nah.
So
I get what you mean.
I'm definitely.
games that's worth something. Yeah.
Honestly, like I said, I'm an extremist. I'm in favor of just basically making a 62-game regular season and 16 best teams. 16 best teams. That's what I'm in favor of. Because you think about think about that playoff matchup too. Like you got the Warriors versus the Raptors. A 3 versus 6 or whatever. Think about Milwaukee as the 1 seed versus I don't know. Like, and I'm just going off last year. Like Milwaukee versus who would be like the 16th seed in the West? Like who was the 8th seed in the West last year? The Clippers. Like Milwaukee versus the Clippers.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't tell me the Clippers aren't a better matchup for Milwaukee than say the Pistons were.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you can't even make that argument. Like, of course, I mean Milwaukee would still win, but the Clippers are more competitive than the Pistons on any day. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm in favor of it, man. I'm all for it. I'm all for restructuring the playoffs, the format.
Yeah, I like that concept too. I was just thinking about that randomly since our conversation kind of going that route, but I did listen to you last week, so yeah, I didn't want you to have to repeat.
You're good. And I appreciate it. Yeah. So you're just just going back to the Westbrook thing. You're kind of like in the middle, like you don't know.
I'm not really sure because that honestly that pairing of players does nothing for me. It doesn't. I would have preferred if they could have got a big, like, somebody to complement James Harden more rather than somebody that's, they're pretty much going to be, padding together pretty much. But I don't think that does anything, to be honest.
I'm with you. I think I don't think it's going to work. I mean, well, here's the thing. I always get annoyed when like, will it work? Will it won't work? Like, can it work? Yes, it can work.
Yeah.
Will it work? That's a different question because again, when you bring guys like this together that basically play the same position and are similarly in talent as far as how they play. I know Westbrook's more explosive. I know Harden's more of your traditional kind of a scorer. He's not more athletic. Like Westbrook's athletic. He's just a fucking freak of nature athlete. Like he's basically a wide receiver playing point guard. Basically,
yeah.
Essentially what I would describe Westbrook. Like Westbrook is like a slot receiver, not even a slot receiver, like a deep outside threat. He's basically Deshaun Jackson, a taller Deshaun Jackson playing point guard. Like he's lightning fast, he's athletic, he's explosive. James Harden is a scorer. He's not as athletic as Harden. I would say Harden's a better player than Westbrook. I don't think that's a stretch to say that.
Yeah, not
better. He's just better offensively. Westbrook's better on defense, but everywhere else, I think Harden takes a nod over Westbrook. But they're basically the same player. They're basically the same.
Yeah.
And I just don't think those two guys, like the way I would equate it is like, remember when Iverson got traded to Denver and it was Iverson and Melo for like a couple years and it just didn't work because there's literally there just wasn't enough basketballs to go around.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah,
like,
and that's how it would be.
Yeah, I mean, and the pairing worked in the sense like they were a playoff team for 3 years. Like it worked in that they got to the playoffs. They were a solid team for 3 years, but they had a ceiling. They didn't reach past a certain point because Melo was Melo and Iverson was Iverson, and they were too similar. In a lot of ways, Melo was a taller Iverson. Like so they were too ball dominant. It's not the same intricacies here, but it's still pretty much the same. Like the way I would equate it is basically like back in the day, putting a team constructed of Stephon Marbury and Allen Iverson together.
Now, it's funny that you say that, but I'm just thinking about the pairing of Westbrook and Harden. When I think about it, I think Westbrook is starting to. I think his ceiling is right now. Like I think this is the best. version of this player that we're going to see unless he game so much. Now, with Harden, Harden, he has that old man game. It's kind of like a Paul Pierce type of thing. Harden can keep that up for at least three to 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Just at a high level. I'm not saying he's going to win another MVP. I just think that he's still going to be good by the style of play that he, by the way that he plays. Westbrook, is a little bit different because he doesn't have that type of shot that Harden has.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I agree with you.
Westbrook is hella inefficient. Like, he can get all the rebounds and assists. That's cool, but what does that do for his game? And then the money that he's going to receive. I don't really know how that works.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It can work in the sense that Harden is capable of playing off the ball. They did play together back in Oklahoma City. And even that's kind of a cheat because it's like everybody's like, oh, well, they played together already back in the day. They also had Kevin Durant, too, which is a little like we're forgetting that element of this. Like, they were younger. They weren't as established. They both didn't have an MVPs. And they had a guy named Kevin Durant there, too. That was like, so that's
and Harden came off the bench.
Exactly. And the NBA was different. Like the NBA, the way stylistically, the way the game was played was different. The three wasn't as a factor back then as it is now. So, so when Harden and Westbrook played together, it was mostly Harden handling the ball and Westbrook can kind of play the two guard, which is what Westbrook is. He's a two guard. That's why I said they're basically the same. Harden is a two guard in a traditional sense. And Westbrook is really a two guard playing point. I mean, they're basically two guards playing point guard. So, but back in the day when they played together in different sets, Russell Westbrook would move over to the two and Harden would handle the rock and Russell Westbrook would come off screens, would cut, would slash. You could do that back in 2012, 2013. You can't do that now in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Now it's about spacing. It's about spreading the floor. Like, so do I think it can work? I think it can work, but I think it's going to take a huge change by both guys really to adjust their games. Like, I think Harden can play off the ball more than Westbrook can. Like, I think trying to play Westbrook off the ball is going to be a disaster. It's just going to be. And that's why I think it's not going to work because I don't think D'Antoni has the personality to go to Westbrook and say, hey, we need you to change your game. I just don't see that. And we saw that with Harden. Like if Harden and Chris Paul didn't work, I don't know how Russell Westbrook and Harden's going to work stylistically. Like I just don't know how it's going to work because at least Chris Paul was a prototypical traditional point guard. And, and even him moving him off the ball was a mistake because Chris Paul doesn't have the shot or the offensive playmaking ability, that you would want from a two guard or an off ball guard. So trying to put Westbrook in that situation, I just don't think it's going to work. Now, if Westbrook came into the team and said, hey, I'm willing to change my game, I'm willing to do other things to try to make this fit work, I could see it working, but I just don't. I really don't.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, let's say they start off horribly when the season starts. Does Mike D'Antoni make it to Christmas break?
I don't. I don't see him surviving this if it fails. I don't know if they'll fire him during the season because I think that would be really dramatic and drastic. Like, because I think that team is so built around style of play and system. They're a system-oriented team, so I don't think they would do that right away. Like, I don't think they would fire him like, at the All-Star break or post All-Star. Like, I think they would give it 1 year with Westbrook, Harden, and D'Antoni. And I think if it doesn't work or they kind of underachieve next year, then I think D'Antoni could be fired and they bring in another coach. But that's interesting. But I mean, look, I don't trust that GM. I think Morey is an idiot personally. So he's a loose cannon. So like he's susceptible to do a lot of crazy shit. So
and the only reason I bring that up is because D'Antoni didn't get his extension, I believe.
True. So well, it was
coaching on the last year.
Yeah, they ripped up the extension. I haven't been following it as much as I probably should. I know that I know there was a scuttlebutt about getting the extension. I don't even remember. Then they ripped it up and he said that he didn't want the extension. He was going to coach on his final year. Then I guess they said, then they went back to the negotiating table and said, okay, we're willing to talk extension. So I don't know where they're at with the extension. I should probably know that, but I don't. But you're right. There was already question marks and hangerings about Westbrook, about Harden, or not about Harden. I'm confusing about D'Antoni and his future there long term. So yeah, I mean, I think if they get off to a slow start, then I definitely think he's definitely gonna be in a hot seat. I just don't think they'll fire him in season.
Gotcha. Just wanted to know.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess the other aspect of this is Chris Paul. So what do you think they do with Chris Paul then?
Well, I made that bold proclamation on Twitter. Like, I think someone's going to buy him out, or he, takes a Bobby Bonilla type of deal. Honestly, I just don't see him being in OKC. I see him playing for a contender. And this is just me. Like, I would hate to see him play on a mediocre team, having the career that he's had, at least statistically. We can get on, him not performing in the playoffs or lack thereof or whatever. But still, he is, on paper, I would say a Hall of Famer. But I think he deserves to end his career in a better situation than OKC.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with you that I don't think he finishes his career there, because that's like it serves neither party anything. Like, if you're Chris Paul, you gain nothing by being on the Thunder. Like, you're not going to be a good team. I mean, maybe if everybody stays healthy, they may be a sneaky 8th seed. But even then, that's still implausible, honestly. Like, it would take a lot of things going right. It would take some teams underachieving. It would take somebody getting injured. I just don't see that happening, right? So There's nothing to gain if you're Chris Paul there. And then if you're Oklahoma City, you're really tearing it down. You're really rebuilding. What does having Chris Paul in the fold do for you? Nothing. It does nothing for you. The only thing that I say about the buyout thing is I just don't see Oklahoma City just writing him $100 million check. Like, I don't see that. Like, there's not a lot of teams that do that just buy out years.
$100 million contract.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if he had $50 million left or something like that, I could see that. But I just don't see teams just buying. Ideally, just buy him out. Don't even waste your time. Don't try to make this work. Like, it's not, just don't. Just write him a check and just be gone, be done with it, right? But I just don't see them just writing a check, and saying, yo, hey, Chris, we'll give you, instead of $120 million, we'll give you $109, because he's going to have to lose some money in a buyout, right? Just business wise, he's just going to have to lose. So he may not get his full 120 or 125 million, but he may get 110, 112. I still don't see Oklahoma City buying that out. Like, I just don't see it.
But let's just say this. Do you see him when the season starts? Do you see him in Oklahoma City jersey?
If they don't trade him by August, right, then I think he starts the season in Oklahoma City. I think he starts the season in Oklahoma City. I think they let him kind of rebuild his value, because that's another aspect of this too, is his value is kind of taking a hit too, because he didn't have a great season last year. The injury issue is always there with him, obviously. And that contract. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing. Like, that contract is a deterrent for a lot of people. And they got lucky that, the Rockets got lucky that they were even able to move that contract. Nonetheless, get what they got for it. But I think that if he doesn't get traded in the next 2 weeks, or definitely by August, I would say by August 1st, August 2nd, if they don't trade him by then I definitely think he starts the season in Oklahoma City. I think they let him rebuild his value. I think first thing in December, when you start seeing trades go down early in the regular season, I think you'll definitely see him on the move. To answer your question, I don't think he plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2020. Like, before 2019 is over, he is off that team.
Okay. I like that. I don't know. Like that, like you said, that contract is too big. Like you said, I highly doubt OKC just shells out that type of money unless they work out some type of deal. I would like to see him somewhere else. I don't want to see him waste his time, but like you said, he does have to build his value back up. I'm not sure if he had a major injury or anything from last season. I mean,
but the thing with Chris Paul has always been just like little knickknacks, like not little knickknacks, little small. Like, he hasn't had a torn ACL, he hasn't had a hand, he hasn't had an Achilles. He's just kind of had like a hamstring. He breaks a finger, he breaks a hand, and he's out for 6 weeks. And it's always at the most inopportune times. But the question of injury is always there with him. And now the fact that he's 34, the injury concerns become higher. So to me, I don't see a situation where a team is going to trade for him unless he rebuilds his value some. Because you seem to think like he's going to get bought out, right?
Yeah, I'm under that impression.
So let's say he gets bought out, right?
Yeah.
What teams do you see him playing for? Like, give me 3 teams. We probably have on the same page as far as teams, but I just want to
as far as teams, like, I can see him, honestly, he should go back to LA. I would like to do that. Like,
the Lakers?
They don't. Yeah, no, not the Lakers, the Clippers.
Interesting.
Why not?
They got Beverly and Lou Williams there, so I don't know if there's a fit there for him.
Oh, okay. Like, I just knew about Pat Beverly, and I would assume that Pat wouldn't mind being like that 6-man type of person. But
well, they got Lou Williams. They got Lou Williams and Pat Beverly. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. Like, if you're Chris Paul, Yeah. I would think the Lakers would be his first option because he's there with his man.
Yeah, I would say LeBron. Yeah, I would say LeBron and everything. But it's like you already have an established history with this organization. I'm not sure about his relationship with Doc Rivers. That would be something that I would question. I don't think they're the best on the best of terms.
Yeah, I think things were a little frayed there at the end, so I don't think that will work. But I the only thing with the Lakers is that they have Rondo there now, and him and Rondo, obviously they'll kill each other.
Right,
that's definitely not going to work. Yeah, that's definitely not going to work. So Rondo's there, so I don't see the Lakers as a possibility unless they just completely rip up Rondo's contract, and I don't think he can because I think it's official now at this point. So so I don't see the Lakers. I don't see either LA team as an option right now. Now, obviously, as the season goes along, an injury happens, something happens, obviously things change. But right now, I don't see either of the two LA teams as an option. Okay. But the teams for me that sticks, I think Philly. I think Philly is the team for me. Miami, because Miami's just so desperate for somebody besides Jimmy Butler. Desperate for somebody. So poor Miami.
Right.
Like they got to get somebody, right?
They need somebody.
Yeah, I think Miami and Philly are the two teams in the East that make the most sense. Plus, it's the Eastern Conference for him. It'll look like it's probably an easier route to get to a championship than, say, going into the West and going into that gauntlet. You know what I mean? So I think the Heat and the Sixers make the most sense. And I was listening to something on TV, like people were suggesting like the Sixers make a trade outright for Chris Paul. I'm like, I just don't see it. Like, I don't see why, if you're the Sixers, why would you? And the trade they came up with is Ben Simmons for Chris Paul.
No.
Like, why, if you're Philly, why would you do? No. Like, I think if you're Philly, I think you desperately have to look at breaking up Simmons and Embiid because I just don't think that pair works. I wouldn't trade Simmons.
But I wouldn't trade Simmons.
But I agree with you. I wouldn't trade. Yeah, I would. I would do that. Yeah, like if you're Philly, why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? Like that's
I'm not
trade for me.
I'm not tied. Like me personally, I'm not a Philly fan, but I'm not tied to Ben Simmons. Like you know what I'm saying. Like I personally would keep Embiid. I would, that would be my. I guess a Shaq Kobe type of thing. Who do you pick? Who do you pick? Who do you keep? You know what I'm saying. But I would keep Embiid. But Ben Simmons, he still has a lot of room to grow, and you can get a lot for him. So trade him now. Yeah. Like, you would trade him now, but I'm not damn sure not trading for Chris Paul. Like, no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make no sense. And I know, and to be fair, I think, I forgot who, Chris Broussard threw that out. And I think sometimes Chris Broussard just be throwing shit out there just to throw it out there. But I think he just be throwing stuff out there just to throw it out there. But like, I think, and to be fair with him, like I think he threw it out there. It was more of a question, and I think he threw it out there like it would be a package built around Chris Paul and Ben Simmons. But I think it would be more included like draft picks. But even then, I don't love that deal because I'm like, to me, I just don't love that deal because Ben Simmons for Chris Paul right now, that doesn't seem fair. Like it just doesn't right now. Like Ben Simmons just has so much upside. Even though I have issues with his game, he still has so much more upside. You know what you have in Chris Paul. And even then, I don't think Chris Paul makes Philly that much better.
He doesn't.
Yeah. So
because they lost. I mean, they lost some pieces in free agency, and one being JJ Redick. So I don't really know how to. We don't know what that team that they're putting out there is really going to do. It's not the same Philly team from last year.
No, it's not. And I think they're going to desperately miss JJ. I think they're going to. Jimmy Butler's addition by is a subtraction. Is an addition. So I don't think they're going to miss Jimmy Butler much, but I do think they're going to miss JJ Redick. And they've lost a lot of shooters and a lot of people from that team in the last couple of years. Yeah. So and I don't think they've essentially replaced a lot of them, like Josh Richardson. Like he's all right, but he's not the shooter that JJ Redick is. And I still don't love the Horford deal. Like I don't get what they were trying to go for there. Like, I mean, I get what they were trying to go for, but I'm just like, I don't think that makes them better. Like, I just don't.
It doesn't make them significantly better. It's just I think it's just a nice compliment to Embiid, especially when he goes down, because he's going to get injured.
Yeah, true. That's very true. Yeah, very true. So I think we're both on the same page on this as far as this Westbrook thing. I mean, it's going to be. I will say this: it's going to be worth the price of admission. It's going to be must see TV if nothing else.
Yes, I think I need to look up League Pass because even the League Pass games might be interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I mean, like we said, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna still be fans. But if you're talking about like championship or bust with this Houston Rockets team, no.
No. And I'm not even certain that they're going to be a top 4 seed next year either. Like I wouldn't bank on that just yet. Like I wouldn't bank on the Rockets being one of the 4 best teams in the West right now. I mean, they definitely could be, but I wouldn't guarantee that.
Yeah, like I said, looking at what I saw on paper as far as the roster goes, they could be top four, but could. I didn't even say that definitely. Like I just said they could be top four. So yeah.
Right, true. Everybody that's saying that, well, they're friends, they came up together, blah, 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 blah. Well, remember, Chris Paul requested a trade to go to Houston. So, and like him and James Harden, by all reports, were close. Like they were cool. Like they did commercials together. And then that relationship went south. So, and you can easily say, oh, well, Chris Paul just gets on everybody's nerves. And that's true. But James Harden had an impact on this too, and his style of play and his just inability to really adjust. So, yeah, they can love each other right now, but eventually something's going to happen where things are just not going to be able to be fixed. So
exactly.
But I think it does help that I think they seemingly both do want to make it work. So I'm kind of going both ways on this. Like that doesn't mean much of anything right now, but I think it does help that they both want to make it work. I think they're both cognizant that everybody's thinking it's not going to work. So I think that works in the opposite direction of it. Like they both know what everybody's saying, so they're going to work extra harder to try to make it work. That being said, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to work because I just think stylistically they're just too much of the same player, and there's only one basketball. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty much it on the Westbrook trade. I think that and that's another thing too with this too is like there's so much. There's still like we have to weigh how it plays out, who adjusts their game, who changes. Right now we can break it down from all aspects right now, but it's hard because they haven't played a game together.
Exactly, not one game, not even a scrimmage yet. So we'll see how
And stop bringing up Oklahoma City circa 2012 as a template. Like, see, they can work together. The NBA is light years different right now. Like the NBA is so different right now than it was even 6 years ago. Like it's so, and they were both younger. They were both different in different stages in their career. You can't discount that. Like Harden scored 30, had one of the greatest offensive seasons in the history of the NBA last year. Westbrook has had four straight triples. You know what I mean?
Triple doubles and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they're at different stages of their careers now than they were in 2011. So you can't really bring that up as like, oh, see, they can play together.
It's kind of like a broken relationship. Like, oh, yeah.
Well, we worked back in the day, remember? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was before you cheated 5 times and had 3 different baby moms. It's totally different now. Like, yeah. But let's move on, man. Yahoo this week, just to kind of spur up some conversation, I guess, put out there what is the best basketball movie of all time. The list that they put out there was kind of interesting. They didn't really put out a list. They just kind of put out a meme with kind of what's the best basketball movie of all time. And the movies that they had listed on there, and I'll show you the movies that they had listed on there because I thought it was interesting, the movies that they had listed. So the movies that they had listed on here, obviously, was He Got Game, Space Jam, Hoosiers, Above the Rim, Blue Chips, White Man Can Jump, Like Mike. I still don't understand that. And Love and Basketball. So those were the 8 movies that they listed on there. So what's your thoughts? Like, what do you think is the best basketball? In your opinion, what's the best basketball movie of all time?
The best one?
Or at least give me your 3 favorite. At least give me your 3 favorite.
Well, I got one that's not even on this damn list. Like, I love The Sixth Man. I don't know why no one puts no respect on that movie.
That's a good movie. I like that movie.
Yeah.
But of all time, though? But of all time?
I have to think about this because, this is something that we just talked about. But Above the Rim is up there for me. He Got Game is definitely up there for me. And there was another one that was just on that list that you discussed. Above the Rim, White Man Can't Jump. Yes. Because I love the street ball element of it and the storyline behind it, and, obviously, the play on the stereotype,
Yeah.
But so I love those 3 movies, but there's a lot of other basketball movies that we can talk about that's not even on that list. But if you just, putting a gun to my head, those 3 right there. Yeah,
well, I think if you're looking at this list, there's one that stands out like a sore thumb is fucking Like Mike. Like, why is Like Mike on this list? I know they had a lot of NBA players on there, but just why?
And that's the only reason. I was about to say because of the NBA.
Why? Like, I can name 4 movies off the top of my head that I would put on that list before Like Mike. Like Glory Road. Yeah. I really love Glory Road. I think Glory Road is really good. Glory Road is a really good movie. It's based on a true story. I love the scenes of basketball in there. Like, I really like that movie. I don't understand how I would take that movie over Like Mike any day. 6 Man, definitely.
Yes.
Eddie, remember Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg? And she's coaching the Knicks.
Yes.
Yeah, Eddie. I put Eddie on that list before, like Mike.
Yeah, Eddie was an 8. She coached the Knicks to an 8.
Yeah. Eddie. What other movies on here? Would I put over like Mike? Nigga, I put Air Bud on this list before like Mike.
I was gonna say I thought Air Bud would have been on there. but like Mike, like
I would put Air Bud. Like I don't even think like when I think about basketball movies, like Mike is like the 15th movie I think about. Like it's not even like
I would never think of that.
Sunset Park. Sunset Park. Where's Sunset Park? I would put Sunset Park over.
They didn't put Blue Chips on there. Like Blue Chips.
Blue Chips is on here. Yeah, Blue Chips is on here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay.
Where's Coach Carter?
Wow, I forgot about Coach Carter. Coach Carter.
And that was trending. That was trending on Twitter because everybody was mad about this list, and they were like, "Oh, Coach Carter should definitely be on this list." And I was like, "Absolutely." Yeah. I think the two biggest omissions are Coach Carter and Glory Road. Like those two for me.
They just have to be because like they were based on true stories. Like, and you can't get past a tear jerking, tug at your heartstrings true story. You can't.
Yeah, and it was well done. It just everything about it. If you want to include documentaries, Hoop Dreams, More Than a Game, those need to be in the discussion. Semi-Pro, I would throw Semi-Pro in the list over like Mike.
I was just going to bring up Semi-Pro because it's not based on a true story, but it has like a true story type of timeline because of the NBA merger and the things that they had to do. Like I like that type of storyline. Outside of it just being a comedy. Yeah.
Here's another one that I think is underrated that I love. It was like one of the first basketball movies I ever seen when I was a kid. Yeah. The Air Up There.
The Air Up There. I love it.
I love that movie. Like I think that movie should be on the list.
Well, hey, like you said, like I want to double back to the comment you said about documentaries. You gotta put the Fab Five in there. The Bad Boys doc. Like those 30%.
Oh, if we're going by documentaries, yeah, there's a lot of documentaries we can put on this list.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
Like, if we're going on documentaries,
you brought up More Than the Game. I was like, well, we got to talk about Fab Five and
Fab Five, Bad Boys documentary, the Magic and Larry documentary that HBO did a couple years ago. I mean, there's so many documentaries you can bring up. I think strictly on just movies in general, like I think like Mike, like what?
Like Mike. It's only because I think someone put the statistic out there that this had the most NBA cameos of any movie ever.
Who cares?
I think that's what it is.
Who cares? I don't care. Like it doesn't. Okay, whoop-de fucking do because Chris Webber's in it. I don't care. Like it's like okay, wonderful. Like, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Like okay, great, wonderful movie. Yeah.
In that case, put Uncle Drew up there.
Uncle Drew up there. Like
Uncle Drew wasn't a bad movie, but that's not.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't
bad.
Honestly, I like Uncle Drew more than I like Mike. I put it out there.
Oh yeah, I'll put that out there too. That's not a bad movie pick. But if you're talking about all time movies, yeah.
And it's nothing against like Mike either. It's like Mike is a fine movie. Like it's fine, but like in the discussion as far as best basketball movies of all time, like no. And I just gave you a couple movies. I could definitely give you some other ones. I mentioned Sunset Park, Finding Forrester. That's another good movie that I think a lot of people didn't see. But I also think it's a really good movie. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Like Finding Forrester is a really good movie. I think it's one of Sean Connery's last like movie roles.
Okay.
Like, I mean, there's tons of movies that I can bring up basketball wise. A lot that people haven't even seen. So yeah, Like Mike to me was the one that really pissed me off because I was just like, what?
Of all the things like Mike.
Yeah. But I mean, I didn't even answer what's my favorite basketball movie of all time. My favorite basketball movie of all time, it's a tie between He Got Game and Hoosiers. Like I love the story of both those movies. Like as far as just an actual like quote unquote basketball movie, or just basketball alone, I love Hoosiers. On story and just kind of depth and character and all that, like definitely He Got Game. Like He Got Game is just fucking like. To me, I think the discussion really centers around the three that are like most. I think the 3 or 4 that most people will always bring up is He Got Game, Hoosiers, Above the Rim, and White Men Can't Jump. Like I think those are the 4 like people will.
Yeah, I think, and not to exclude Hoosiers, but I just think the other three are more for cultural references and cultural,
True.
Yeah. Like hip hop, like, bringing that element out. So I think people just love those movies for those reasons. Kind of nostalgia.
Absolutely. And Love and Basketball too. Love and Basketball is a hell of a movie too. And I know it's a chick flick. I get it, but I mean, still, it deserves to be in a really good movie. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not one of my. Now that's the thing. If I was making a list, I probably wouldn't put Love and Basketball.
I mean, in a top 10 list, it has to be on the list. Like,
yeah. But this is a consensus, an overall consensus of what, people deem to be the best movies of all time. I wonder what the criteria was for picking these, honestly.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I didn't read the story that they put. I know that I seen a picture that they posted that they tweeted out and it spread on Twitter like wildfire. You know how that should be. But outside of that, like, I didn't see any stories attached to it or people. I think it was just mostly like something that was thrown out there for a discussion piece. And I think people just ran with it like, oh, what's the best basketball movie? Yahoo seems to think it's this or blah, blah, like, I don't know. And Space Jam too. Like Space Jam, for all of its quirkiness, I guess, Space Jam is still a dope movie. So,
Well, yeah, you took one of the biggest basketball players, period, right? And you paired him with the Looney Tunes, which were big at the time.
Still, I mean, the biggest cartoon maybe ever, or one of the biggest cartoons ever. Like,
you can't really lose. Like, I don't think now that's the thing. Now that's my questions with Space Jam too. I don't think these kids really understand who the Looney Tunes are. So I don't think that they were really like, they know who LeBron is, but Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig and Yosemite Sam and those characters. Does that mean anything to you? Like, I mean, does that mean anything to them the way that mean everything to us?
I
don't think so. I don't think so.
True. Although I would say those characters, I think those characters are timeless. Like, I think those characters are timeless. Like, I think they'll always mean something to some kids. Like, but but you're right though. They don't. I don't think these kids now are as attached to those characters as even we were in the 90s, you know what I mean? That were Saturday morning cartoons and, Looney Tunes and all different iterations of Looney Tunes. Like, just, are Looney Tunes, is there even a current Looney Tunes version on TV right now? Like, I can't even tell you.
Honestly, I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I would watch it if it was. I would watch it.
I would watch it too. I mean, sometimes on Boomerang, I still watch Looney Tunes, so... Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, is there like a but you make that's a good point though. Yeah, like does it really affect a kid now growing up that you're like, oh shit, LeBron's in a movie with Daffy Duck? Like, oh,
right,
really?
No,
like, okay. No, not really.
All right, no, nothing. Okay, that's just for us. It's like clearly, that's why everybody eyes at this song.
I think, my thought on the whole Space Jam 2 thing is just another way for LeBron to say he did something Jordan did.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Because like, why would you do it otherwise? Like,
and I pointed this out just to friends jokingly. I was just like, look, if LeBron wins this season, it's clearly it's a conspiracy. Like, if Jordan won this ring when he came back from Space Jam, like LeBron wins the ring this year. I'm just saying, LeBron got his new hairpiece in. He's been brushing his waves.
The new hairpiece. Yeah, man. Yeah, you know the hairpiece is in. It's official.
Oh yeah. He's going for MVP this year. Like, I think, but that's another story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because I thought that was interesting to talk about it with you. I think you're the perfect person to talk about that with. Like, because I saw that list and I was just like, what? Like Mike? Like, I was just upset about Like Mike. I didn't care about none of the other movies on there. I was just like Mike over Glory Road,
audacity,
over Sunset Park, over bruh. What? Like Mike? What the fuck out of here? No way. No way. Yeah. Disrespectful. Yeah. I don't know. Because it had 38 NBA players. Like, it had basically the whole 2004 All-Star team on there. I don't care.
Pretty much. I don't care about that. Like, what does that mean to me?
Yeah. That makes it a good movie? Like, okay. All right. I guess.
Whatever you say.
Whoever tweeted this out clearly grew up on Like Mike. Clearly. It had to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're going to definitely transition over to talk about Stranger Things from here on out. So, like I said at the beginning, if you don't want to listen to us basically babble on about Stranger Things Season 3, if you haven't finished, just drop off right here, want to watch Stranger Things or finish up on Stranger Things and then come back and listen to this episode, great. If it's going to take you like 3 months to finish Stranger Things, like you can always come back to this episode and listen to what we got to say about it. But either way, man, if you don't want it spoiled for you, you can clock out here. And again, thank you for listening and thank you for subscribing to the show. So yeah, for the rest of you that decided to stick around, we are definitely talking about Stranger Things from here on out. If you have not finished it, but you still want to listen to us talk about it, spoiler alert, you have been warned. All right.
Yes.
You can't say that we spoiled it for you. We fucked it up for you. Spoiler warning is in effect as of right now. All right. Stranger Things season 3. First thoughts on it, and then we'll kind of get into like different 3 things that we like, 3 things that we didn't like. Okay. And then we kind of go on what we see happening in season 4. So kind of just broad thoughts on it. Raph, you go.
Okay. Broad thoughts on the season overall. I think it was entertaining. I definitely know that there are some things that we can poke at. I think I can do that with every season, honestly. The gang is back. I really enjoy this gang of kids. Like, they always manage to integrate one other person into their adventures that I don't mind. But as long as my 4 guys are there, 4 guys plus L, everything works for me. I hate, we'll get into the season and what we didn't like. I hate that my man is gone. We already gonna talk about that. No man.
Allegedly.
Yeah, and that's nothing else too. I was like, I don't know, but that's interesting within itself. But I definitely enjoyed the season. I enjoyed the character development. I mean, they are young teens now, so Elle really coming into her own. She's not just some fucking cyborg lab rat that they pulled from somewhere. She actually formulates whole sentences now, and she actually displays a level of emotion. I do enjoy that. I enjoy her being that. I enjoyed Lucas's sister kind of coming along, blossoming too. I enjoyed that.
You can't spell America without Erica.
Yeah, I love her one-liners. Like, and I think one thing about this season, I enjoyed the comedy aspect. I think that's one thing they've always done. I don't think it's ever been over the top. There's one thing that I didn't like, and we'll get to that. Obviously, I just hated that it happened, but it's still a funny moment. Don't get me wrong. I'm just nitpicking. Kind of a third thing that I liked. I enjoyed Steve kind of like coming out of. Like, cause he was still stuck on this like high school mentality. He trying to show the level of maturity, even just with just a personal development of him wanting to, date and things like that. And then when, Robin pretty much shot her down, I think that was her name, Robin. She pretty much said, "Hey, I like the girl that was looking at you." Oh, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
He did it so smooth, but, she shot him down. But, I enjoyed the cast of characters. That's always something that I can enjoy.
Dope. My overall thoughts on the season is just it was a great season. Definitely a step up from season 2. I love season 2 too, but I think it's definitely a step up from season 2. If I had to give season, and I didn't do this with season 2, but if I had to give season 2 a grade, I would have gave it an A-. So this one definitely gets an A. It's not as good as season 1. I don't think any of the seasons have topped season 1 yet, but that's not a bad thing. It's just season 1 was just amazing.
Amazing.
But season 3, solid A all across the board. Even the things I didn't like are nitpicks, like, cause that's the thing when you're doing like a review, like even the thing, like there's nothing that we hated. There's just things, at least for me, there's nothing that I hated. There's things that I honestly did not like and that I wish were different. And I'll get into them, but overall it didn't hurt the quality of the show. It didn't hurt this season. So I think overall I give it a solid A. This season. As far as the things that I liked, I just like these characters, man. That's number one. I think that's the heart of the show. The heart of the show is the characters, man. The characters. Exactly. You care about these characters. Like Stranger Things is a show that if we weren't in the Stranger Things universe, like I would just want to see a regular show with these people. Like I would just I would love to see like Stranger Things meets like teen drama. Like I just starring every one of these kids. I just want to see them in their regular lives outside of like Demogorgons and Gates and Upside Down and all that. Yeah. Take out the science fiction element of it, and like if it just made it like a teen comedy dramedy, like I would want to see that. Like if you made this like a cop show starring, Hopper, like I want to see, like I just love these characters. I love being emotionally invested in this town and in these characters in this universe, and that's what I love the most about this show is just the characters and everything and everybody. And Stranger Things is one of those shows that they're able to incorporate new characters and do it so seamlessly and so well without it seeming forced, or they haven't struck out yet on introducing new characters. And that's a credit to them, because it's not easy. It's not easy to constantly keep introducing new characters each and every season. So they've done that very flawlessly and very seamlessly. So that's dope to them. That being said, I love Robin. I love Robin. I love her addition to the cast. She was dope. She was smart, funny, cute. Like she just did it for me. Same thing with Erica. Although she's been in the show before, her role grew this season. I liked her. She kind of got on the point for me of being a little annoying here and there, but for the most part, though, I really liked her. I really liked her. She fit in with the cast of characters. And then I guess the other element of that I really like, I guess this is the number 3 for me, is just kind of the themes of the show. And I always feel like every show has kind of different themes revolving around it, and that's just any show. Different themes that they kind of hint at, and I love the theme of this season, and really the theme of the whole show is just kind of growing up, change, friendships. And I think that this season in particular, they really kind of touched on some themes, which I'll also get to some of the things that I didn't like here shortly. But the theme in this season is like dealing with change, dealing with loss, just growing, maturing. And I think that you're seeing that with these kids. Like they're growing, they're changing, like they're going through puberty. You know what I mean? Like, so like your life changes, your personalities change, your view on life changes. Like, you change as a person when you go from pre-adolescence to adolescence. You know what I mean? So like, so I thought that the way they covered that was cool, the way they did it here, because it's like, I mean, it shocked me. Because like even just watching this season and going back to season 1, like it's so crazy how different they look. Like they're just grown ass kids now. Like it's wild. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you go back to season 1 and then you go back to season, and now you go now and you fast forward to now, it's like crazy. It's how much they've grown up and they've changed. You know what I mean? So they've really done a good job of capturing that within the show, like how much they've changed even from season 1 to season 2. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the 3 things that I liked. Just the characters in general being back, Robin and Erica, the new characters being introduced, and then of course the theme of change and growing up and dealing with loss and all that good stuff. Just kind of the underlying themes of the show that I liked in the season. What are the things that you didn't really like? And after we cover things that we didn't, we'll kind of get into different plot points and whatnot.
One thing I didn't really care for, and this is just a nitpick, but honestly, I didn't care for the invasion of the body snatchers type of thing with the mind flayer.
You didn't like that?
Really care for that. No, I didn't. Like, I just, like, I was okay with Billy being, under the mind flayer's possession. I was cool with that. But it's just like him recruiting more and more people, and I'm like, this is kind of, I don't know if I like this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That was just me personally. Like, it's not a bad thing. I just feel like sometimes when you have a show like this that seems so different, even though it is kind of retro, you give me something different. You know what I'm saying? Just, that's just me being a little bit more innovative with how you get these things out there. But, that's just whatever it is. But that was okay. Not just something that I just run towards. Something else I didn't like, I hate Joyce. I hate Winona Ryder.
You hate Joyce? What?
I hate Joyce. Whoa. She's annoying as hell.
What?
It's just like.
How can you hate Joyce? How can you hate Joyce, yo?
I think. Well, her. I guess because I'm more like pro Hopper. Like I like Hopper's character so much, and then just Joyce. She comes in. She's so hyperactive. She's so all over the place, and she kind of needs somebody to kind of funnel that in, and I think that's what Hopper does for her. So it's just like this little white woman just going all over the place, just blah, 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 blah. And it's like she needs like somebody to keep her
in check.
Sane, because I think obviously she suffers from PTSD, obviously because of Will, going, dealing with everything that they had to deal with for the past, 2 seasons. So I get it. I get her paranoia, but Hopper was just like, I just, he's like, woman, you need to get a grip, pretty much, and that's what I think throughout the season that I kind of caught. The third thing, I feel like they leave so many questions unanswered with this, and I didn't want to bring it out until I get to you talked about it, but just how the Russians work, like, what I'm saying. I don't know if you want to say that for later with this conversation.
No, you go ahead. Just
okay. I love the fact that they introduced the Russians playing on the Cold War theme and everything, and the mayor being as involved as he was. I'm like, that's a dope plot line. I just hate that we never got an answer to what the fuck they were doing, unless I missed it.
No, I mean, they didn't really elaborate on it. I mean, I guess what they were basically trying to do was reopen the gate. I mean, yeah, you're right. They didn't really kind of touch on what they were trying to do.
It was never really understood. Like, hey, we're trying to get the Demogorgons to take over the United. Like, we never really got that. We never understood why the Russians were introduced the way that they were, and then why did we even get to where we, towards the end of the season, even with the post-credit scene, which I'm pretty sure we'll talk about. So it's just like, I don't understand it.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, you're right about that. Definitely that last one though. Yeah, we didn't really kind of get an explanation of what the Russians were trying to do or what they were trying to accomplish. I guess they were just basically trying to do the same thing Brenner and his crew were trying to do in season 1. So, I mean, I guess you're left to kind of interpret that. But yeah, true. The things that I didn't like, number one, I didn't like, often is the case sometimes when you have a show like this with so many characters, is that some people just inherently are going to fall to the background. And I think that this was the year, it happened last year too. I think Mike last year was poorly used. He was I think he was only used in like 3 episodes, really, like honestly. And I was like, I thought that was a big hit on last season. Same thing with Jonathan. I thought Jonathan took a step back last season, character wise. So, and so this year it was just inherently it was going to happen that some characters kind of take a back seat. And I didn't like that Will took a back seat this year. Really, this was the first time that I think they really don't have anything. And I think this was probably an underlying issue with the show in general, is that I don't think they know what to do with Will yet. Like, I don't know if they have anything for Will, because this year they kind of relegated him to the side. Really, they had a good plot point with him, in the sense in dealing with the theme of change. Like Will is the only one that hasn't really changed just yet. And what I mean by change is that he has it. Will seems to still be stuck in that kid universe, and that being a kid, being pre-adolescence, and Lucas and Mike are like, yo, we're 13, 14, 15 in the show, so we're like in 8th grade going into high school. We're teenagers now. Like, yo, we're trying to kiss. We're trying to get girls. Like, we're trying to get our dicks rubbed. Like, what I mean? Like, we're trying, we're exploring things. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to do different shit. Like, we're trying to go to the mall, hang out, chill. Like, we're not trying to play Dungeons and Dragons anymore, B. Like,
and even Dusty has a girlfriend. Like,
even Dusty has a girlfriend. So, like, I think that they did a really good job of exploring that. Like, and Will's fit of rage at the end of, I forgot what the episode was. Damn, I forgot the episode. But like,
I know exactly the episode you're talking about.
When he tears up the cabin or whatever that Jonathan and him built, or whatever, the clubhouse or whatever that him and Jonathan built. I thought that was a powerful scene. I thought the argument between him and Mike, Mike just basically telling him, like, what did you expect? Like, just going to say kids forever. Like, that was like all really powerful stuff. Like, it hit, and it was realistic, because within a group of friends, like, there are people that mature faster than others, and dudes that kind of, and I think that's one of the aspects of this show that this show is covering, especially this season, is like them growing apart, them expanding, them doing different things. And we've all been involved in friendships and relationships where parties just kind of grow apart. Their lives change, their mentalities change. And I think that this is what this season's kind of covering. It's like, yo, we're in different spaces in our lives, yo. Like, we're not trying to play Dungeons and Dragons anymore. So I know I'm kind of veering off here for a second, but so I really love that aspect of the season and that theme. And then they kind of dropped it after he basically breaks everything up. After he breaks the whole fucking cabin apart and fucks everything up, they kind of dropped that mid-season, and they don't go back. And I really hated that.
Yeah, because like I think even Lucas tried to bring it up to him when they were doing something, and they just kind of dropped it there. I think that was the last time we ever got into that. Yeah,
we got no resolution to that. We really got no kind of. We never went back to that theme, and I really love that theme. And I would have wanted us to kind of spend more time on that than other things on the show. But yeah, it just kind of felt like it was prematurely dropped. And I was like, and one of my theories with that is too, with kind of not knowing what to do with Will, is that I think Will's still dealing with some trauma, obviously, right? Like the same thing with Joyce.
Clearly.
But the thing with Will is I don't know how they don't know how to really manifest his trauma just yet. Like there's different ways to deal with trauma, with with grief the way that with the shit that Will has gone through, right? Like you've met people that have gone through some serious shit in their lives, right? They're one of two things. Their mind either reverts back to like a child, like they're either like retarded, and I don't mean like in a like slow, but just like they're still trapped in like that kid mindset, or they mature faster than their age. You know what I mean? And I think with Will, I think one of the consequences of him going through the things that he went through is that I think he's kind of still stuck in that kid's mind. Like he still wants to go back to what's normal to him, which is Dungeons and Dragons and being with my boys and sleeping over and, that pre-adolescence phase. And they haven't gone through the stress that he's gone through. So they're kind of like, they're going through a normal teenage track, which is like, yo, I'm trying to fuck with girls. Like I'm trying to go to parties. I'm trying to hang out. I'm trying to like do shit. You know what I mean? Especially in the summertime. Like we're not trying to just play Dungeons and Dragons and do nerd shit. Like, and I think that's one of the aspects of Will's trauma that I think he still hasn't really dealt with just yet. So that's what kind of bothered me about the season was that the whole use of Will, like that, I don't think they know how to use Will, and he just basically became a warning sign for them this season, which was kind of dumb.
Yeah, yes. And then sometimes it felt like it didn't even work because, like, even when they were in the hospital, like, above them, it felt like he got that warning signal kind of late.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole use of Will in the season kind of bothered me. That's that's probably my biggest thing. The second thing was Robin coming out. That bothered me, not bother me because of her coming out. Like that's awesome. I love more representation on TV. I'm all for that. I'm all for a gay character being in the show. Like I don't want anybody to take the wrong idea with this. Like, I have no problem with her being gay. My only issue with her is like if you introduce her and you make us fall in love with her, and you know why everybody fell in love with her, because we finally feel like that's a love interest for Steve. And it's like you set it up, you dangle that carrot out there just to pull it back. Like that kind of felt cheap to me. I love the reveal. I love how they did it. It's just being a fan of Steve and being a fan of that character and wanting Steve to have that happiness. Like I kind of felt like,
it's like they kind of snatched that from my man Steve. It felt like it was so cliche. You know, he slid under the thing, tried to talk to her, he's describing her. And it seemed like he was really like, oh, he's really talking about me. And then now it's kind of like, no, I really like girls. And I thought like you could have said that from the jump.
Yeah, true. You could have set that up differently. I mean, I love the way they set it up. I mean, it's a beautiful moment either way. I'm on the other end of it. Like, I wish it would have been for Steve. Like, that's just my whole point of it. Like, that's why I didn't like it.
You know, it's just a selfish moment. And it's not anything against her choice. That's right. Because I'm with you.
Right. And the other thing about it too is they're kind of hinting at a sexuality thing with Will too. I don't know if you caught that. When Mike when Mike told him like, "Oh, it's not our fault that you don't like girls," and he kind of like paused for a little bit, and they kind of left it on him for a little bit. You know what I mean? I caught that. Like I was like,
interesting.
Like I thought that was interesting. Like, so like, and like, it's been a lot of threads on Reddit and all that bringing this point up, and the show hasn't kind of like debunked it. So it's clearly it's clearly left up for interpretation. So it's like, you're already setting it up with Will. I kind of feel like it takes away from Robin. So I don't know. It just kind of, just felt funny about that. Like, I was just like,
it would take away from Robin. It would.
Yeah. Not saying that there can only be one gay character on a show. Like, I'm not trying to be closed or single-minded like this. Like, oh, we can only have one gay character on the show. Like, nah. But, like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like the Robin thing bothered me because it's just like she was so perfect for Steve, and then it's like, you kind of yank that rug from under us. That kind of bothered me. And then the third aspect that I didn't really like, I didn't like the whole storyline at the beginning with Billy and Mrs. Wheeler. Like, I kind of felt like, what was the point of that? That totally went nowhere. That literally went nowhere. Like, what was the point of this? Like, I mean, it made sense. It's picking up things from the end of last season, obviously, so I get why they did it. But I wish that it would have played more into the plot, having him and Mr. Now. Like,
the only thing is, I think it was just to show the drastic change in his behavior when the mindset took over. That's the only thing I got for that. The only thing.
I get it, but like the only thing with that is like we always knew that Billy was like, we knew his behavior because he was in the season prior. So it's like I get what they were going for. I just don't think it landed. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it served a purpose. Like to me, like I would have much rather. Go ahead, my bad.
Go ahead. No, I was just thinking that if you were going to introduce Mrs. Wheeler like that, and then like her and Billy possibly having this romantic thing, why didn't the mind flayer take her instead of the young girl that he was?
Yeah, exactly. Like I would have rather you set that up where she actually goes to meet him at the hotel, or something happens, or the next day, or like remember, like so she ends up not going to meet him at the hotel. On his way to the hotel, that's when the mind flayer gets him. The next day in the locker room or whatever, right? She confronts him about, hey, I'm sorry, whatever. I would have rather him take her there, kidnap her, and take him to the mind flayer, and then have her, be taken or whatever, or abducted or whatever. And that would have fit better with the story than, I guess they didn't want her to die. So I guess that's why they didn't,
Gotcha. She would have been closer to, and then she would have been closer to the situation than Billy was, because now you have one of the main four characters' parents.
Right. It just would have raised the stakes for me a little bit. It would have raised the stakes for me a little bit. But I get why they didn't do it, because all the other people that they abducted died. They turned into fucking mush or pudding, whatever the fuck it was. So, turned into blobs basically. So like, I get why they didn't do it. And I guess they didn't want to kill off that character, but but if you're not going to go all the way with it, then doing what you did in episode 1 just kind of didn't make any sense to me. So I was just like,
gotcha.
You could have did that with any other chick on the show. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Rather than just being one of the main four characters' mom.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's and again, these are all nitpicks. Like, this is not like it was a deal breaker for me. That the will thing was a big thing. The will thing was like a big thing. That was like the one thing that I truly like hated. Other than that, like everything else was just kind of like nitpicky. So
yeah, pretty much.
But what do you think about those?
Just the season again.
No, just think about my 3 dislikes or whatever.
Oh, your 3. Oh, no. Obviously, I never really looked at the Mrs. Wheeler Billy dynamic like that. But yeah, that would kind of bother me, because like she would poke her head in and out of the season here and there, but it's like it never really made sense why she was being showed again. Like we never really got that, like into Mike's parents. I mean, obviously, between Mike and his sister, they're a big part of the season. But as far as their parents being involved, it's like, okay, the only parents we really care about is, clearly Will. Yeah, Will
Joyce and
Hopper. Yeah. But everybody else is kind of like, okay. But I think that's cool. I think what you was kind of pretty much like a, just a nitpick. But I don't think anything was wrong with what you said.
Okay. So I still can't believe you don't like Joyce, though. That's crazy. But
Nah, I hate Joyce, man. I hate Joyce.
Oh, and shout out to Alexei, man, a.k.a. Smirnoff.
Man. I love him. I love his character.
I love this character, and the way he died was so just, man. And that was perfect the way they did it, too. Like, within the carnival with the silencer, like, it was tragic, because it's like all my man wanted to do was just have fun, be free. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They just killed him. You know what I mean? So unceremoniously. Yeah. So So, and Murray, shout out to Murray too. Murray is one of the MVPs of the show. Funny ass motherfucker. Yeah. So yes. So Murray is definitely one of the MVPs. But yeah. So let's get to the end. Hopper.
Okay.
Dying, maybe not dying. Some theories on that. So what do you think? You think he's definitely dead? Not dead? Was going to come back as like a force ghost? Like, what do you think about Hopper's demise, man? First of all, talk about the scene and how it was done, and then just your theories on it.
Yeah, the way the scene was done, it was kind of reminiscent. You remember when Dean Gray got swallowed up by the water in X2?
Yeah.
It kind of played that same emotion for me, because it's like he was looking dead at Winona Ryder's character as he got blew up or whatever. I was like, but I think the way it was done, it was okay. I thought maybe possibly could have saved himself, but we just know that the way that at the beginning of the season when they turned that key or whatever and the gate closed, everybody inside died. At least those other scientists or whatever they were called. I hate that Hopper died. I don't really know how we move forward to season 4 without him, honestly. Because I feel for Elle. Like Elle really, if she wasn't attached to anybody, even if her and Mike don't work out as a romantic thing, right? Her and Hopper's relationship was so genuine.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand like how do we move forward without this central character? But I mean, that's one thing you have to love about the show.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the scene was beautifully done. The choice of music was amazing. Peter Gabriel's "Heroes." I love that song. And using that when Elle's reading the letter that Hopper wrote, that the speech that Hopper was supposed to give her and Mike at the beginning, and she's reading that fucked me up. That was well done. That was well done. The death scene was well done. Everything was cool about that. It didn't land for me because I just don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. Now I spent my last couple days researching different theories, Reddit, Twitter, all that. And there's a lot of different ways you can see it. I think most people are with me that they don't think he's dead. And maybe it's just wishful thinking. And even the show, even the Duffer Brothers have kind of like winked in the nod, like, yeah, maybe, like they know what everybody's talking about. They know that everybody's saying that he may not be dead. So I think the post credit scene, obviously with the Demigorgon eating the prisoner, and they say not the American, who else could the American be?
Now, I'll give my fiance credit on this because sometimes I don't like to take all of her ideas.
Okay.
But she did point out that it could be, you just gave way to him. I forgot his name, but the guy that spoke
Brenner from season 1?
Yeah. Not from season 1. Yeah, you can see one and but it's a possibility
Papa from season 1.
Yeah, it's a possibility that they could have taken him too. Because, I know he came outside and he had the Russian stuff on, and then like him and Joyce kind of went their separate ways. Maybe. I don't know. But, that's another possibility. But I think Hopper is the strongest of the theories.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Of all the theories out there, it could only be one of two people. It could either be Hopper or Brenner. Like that's the only way it makes sense. Like anybody else doesn't make sense at all. You wouldn't do that post credit scene if it's not hinting at one of those two people. So
exactly. And it would be a bigger shock value if it's Hopper, obviously, right? So I think that's who you would go with.
And I think if it's next season and you go through the hype of waiting for another season in a year and a half from now, and it's Brenner, not Hopper, I think that's going to piss a lot of people off. So I think it has to be Hopper. It has to be Hopper. It just makes because Brenner he hasn't been mentioned in so long. Although I know the Duffer Brothers have said intentionally that he still may be alive, and I think they're using him as setup. And I think we could definitely see him next season, especially with Elle losing her powers. And that's another thing I want to talk about too that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. Elle losing her powers at the end, that was totally unexplained how she lost her powers and wasn't made a big deal out of it. Like in everything that was going on, like it kind of was glossed over. Like, oh shit, this basically this meta-human, this fucking X-Men that we've been traveling with for 2.5 seasons, like doesn't have her powers now. Like this should be a big thing, and it was kind of like glossed over. So I didn't like that part. That really I didn't like.
It's still a lot of things in Stranger Things overall as a series. Like I think because whenever the final season will be, we'll finally get those answers. Because like we don't know what we're dealing with the Upside Down. We don't know what we don't really understand what we're dealing with yet. We still have people that are trying to manipulate, trying to control this. And then now we add the other element of the Russians even being in here. We don't know what the hell they want with it.
Right. True. So
it kind of irritates me. Like I was like, what are we dealing with? I've been dealing with this for 3 seasons now. Like,
right, you're stressing out trying to find answers. Yeah, I get that. I get that. No, and I get that that's going to be a season 4 plot is Elle's powers and trying to find. And I think that's what's going to play into Hopper too, trying to find Hopper. Because there's a lot of theories that Hopper may be like the theories seem to range from Hopper's the American in the prison. Yeah. Or Hopper somehow got sucked into the Upside Down or jumped into the Upside Down. Those are the two big popular theories that everybody's kind of putting out there, right? And like somehow Elle sees him and to get her powers back, she tries to find Brenner and Brenner's the American in the prison and he helps her regain her powers. So that's kind of like some of the theories going into season 4. Somehow it's definitely like even if Hopper's dead, I don't think you've seen the last of Hopper. I will say that.
Oh no. Like even just with the way that he wrote the speech, like he'll come back to Elle just like dropping little nuggets.
Like a Force Ghost. Right?
Yeah,
like a Force.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but I definitely think you'll see Hopper again. I still think he's alive though. To me, he's too important to the story. He's really the heart of the show in a lot of ways. Like he's the connecting thread that connects kind of the adults to the kids in a lot of ways. So yeah, like. I'd feel like you lose a lot by him dying. so I don't think he's dead personally.
And I'll say this, like he adds to L having a shred of humanity outside of what Max provided for L this season. Just letting her be, showing her she's really a girl, you're a teenager. Let's do this. But Hopper really is that all that you just said.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. I feel you. That definitely adds to Elle's humanity, and you brought up a great point that Elle started to mature more as a character. That she's not just kind of this robotic character. Like she's a girl. She's kissing Mike at the beginning of the show. Like she's growing out her hair. Or, they go through the cliche '80s wardrobe montage or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you see them doing more with that character. So you love. I mean, Elle's just Elle. Like what else can you say about Millie Bobby Brown? Like she's phenomenal. She's phenomenal. Like, what else can you? How hasn't she won an Emmy yet? Like, is beyond me.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if they hate on Netflix or something like that. But this show is great.
Yeah, it's an amazing show. So, like, what are your theories for season 4? Like, do you definitely think that Hopper's alive, or do you think that they'll find a way to bring him back, like either through time travel, it's not a coincidence that they kept, flashing back to Back to the Future.
Yeah, right. I think, I like what you did there. I still say that Hopper's alive. He's somewhere. Like, I don't know if it's even like, the blast knocked him off the bridge and the Russians found him and they dragged him out. I don't know, but either way, I don't think Hopper, this is the last time we've seen Hopper. The kids are just going to continue to go. They're going to continue with the things that they've been dealing with. Elle is going to struggle with her powers, obviously, for, let's say, the first third of the season. And then she finds, I guess her Austin Powers mojo, gets her powers back. And then, we kind of get to the end. I just want to know what the end game for all of this is. And I think that's why I'm so intrigued with the show.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. I definitely for season 4, like I don't want Elle to get her powers right away. Like I think that should be one of the story arcs for season 4. And also if Hopper is alive, like I don't want him to show up like at the end of season 1, episode 1, like play it out, drag it out for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
drag it out for a little bit. Definitely. I wanted to get into it with you. Like, do you find it hard with these Netflix shows? Sometimes, like, do you feel like it's too short?
For this type of show, you only give me 8 episodes. I feel like it could be at least 10 to 12.
Yeah. Especially with characters, like the characters that we love. Yeah,
exactly. Because I think one thing I didn't like about the season, I didn't even get into it and I forgot about it, but the Dustin Susie thing.
Oh, you didn't like you didn't like the never-ending story duet?
No, I hated that. But that's a nitpick. But just him building the tower, and then Susie coming at the end is kind of cliche.
Yeah, it's but that's still a nitpick, honestly. But I would have loved to see I hate that Susie wasn't there. They introduced Dustin's girlfriend from science camp, but it's just I would love to. I kind of want to see more of that. They're just coming on, giving the Planks constant, and then we're done. And that's been my issue with kind of Netflix and streaming shows in general, as opposed to kind of regular network shows, right? That I have 2 problems with them. I think a lot of times they're too short, and I get why they're too short because I think 22 in a lot of ways, 22, the standard 22 episodes that network shows get, so shows like Law and Order, NCIS get, sometimes it does feel like it's forever, it's too long.
Yeah.
And then, but these shows do feel like it's too short because it's 8 episodes with these characters that you love, character building sometimes kind of gets left in the background because they have to kind of get to a plot. You know what I mean? So I feel like you risk sometimes fleshing out some of those character motivations and those character driven decisions sometimes, or even just those story beats. What happens with Will now that he tore up his cabin? Is Will just going to get into girls all of a sudden, or is he struggling with his sexuality, or what is going on with Will? I keep harkening back to Will. Will, what is going on with Will? The teenage dynamic of Elle and Mike and their little love thing, their love and understanding how much they love each other, and what all these things that you care about from just caring about the characters, they don't get enough time to be fleshed out because oh shit, we gotta talk about the mind flayer and the demigorgons and demons and the upside down. I feel like that takes away from shows like this. You know what I mean? The lack of episodes.
Well, and I mean, like you said, network TV versus streaming TV. Obviously, there's a big buildup for a show like Stranger Things, right? Now we get to when it actually comes out, and I can watch the whole season in a day. So I guess it's for the streaming aspect of it. you want these. I guess it pertains to their numbers or whatever. They want those things to kind of stay high. If you flesh those things out, imagine having 16 episodes of this in one season.
Yeah, true. No, it's a gift. It's a double-edged sword. It's definitely a double-edged sword.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think at least for me, like I love network shows because I love that week to week build up. Like I love building to a crescendo over a period of time, as opposed to kind of like, streaming it all in one setting. And then it's like, cause I don't know about you. Like when I finished it on Wednesday night, I was like, damn, I'm not going to watch this show now. And I always go back and rewatch the season, like, after the fact, like, I may rewatch it sometime in the fall or in the wintertime or whatever. When I'm bored one weekend, I'll just go back and rewatch them just because I love the show that much.
Exactly.
But like after I was done Wednesday night, like, damn, like it's going to be another year to maybe 2 years until we see these characters in the story again. So it's like, like, it's like, damn, like it sucks as opposed to like Law and Order or NCIS. Like you're with them week to week for an entire season. And then even the summer hiatus, it's only 3 months and then you're back again for another season. So it feels like you're constantly with these shows as opposed to like cable and streaming shows where it's, 10 episodes, you're in and you're out and that's it. You're done for the year. In some cases.
Yeah, and then we probably won't get Stranger Things forward to 2021.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. You're probably right. You probably won't get it to 2021 because it takes so much time to produce this and build. Yeah. So, it kind of leaves you, it does leave you wanting more. And I guess that's what every show should aim to, is to not give everything away so easily, to leave the viewer wanting more. But it does kind of like, and the other aspect of it too, if you had a regular network television run, or if you had Stranger Things for 22 episodes, you could have kind of episodes where it's just focused on regular life for them, like the Joyce and Hopper relationship, the kids dynamic. You know what I mean? You could have an episode centered around Dusty. You could have an episode centered around Mike and his sister, and you could have an episode around Jonathan and I forget her name. I forget her name. Fuck. I love her, but I forget her name. Damn.
Is it Nancy?
Nancy. Yes, Nancy. Like, so Nancy and Jonathan. So you could have an episode focused on that. Like you could have different pockets of episodes where it focuses on different characters as opposed to kind of trying to run through things just to get to the plot. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's a double-edged sword. I get why they do it. I get why the streaming shows are successful because it's short, to the point, in and out. But I also prefer like a little bit of an element of network shows where it's more character building. You take your time, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it, man. Overall, what grade would you give season 3 or Stranger Things 3?
I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I definitely would give it an A. I enjoyed the season. Like I think it has replay value. It's better than season 2. Like as much as I wanted to, as much as we went through these nitpicking, scenarios, that was with the fine tooth comb. This is still a great season. So great show. Yeah, absolutely. Great show. Still can't understand how you don't like Joyce though. Man, Joyce is horrible, man. What? She's an annoying mom, man. I can't stand it. That's the other thing about this show too, man. Is like the parents are just non-existent. Like, damn, where the hell are these? Remember, they even played on it too. Like when they're in the theme park and like they're all asking like, "Where's Mike? Where's this? Where's like where?" Well, we don't know. Right. Like we seen Dusty people probably once, maybe twice. Yeah. They must really like Hawkins, Indiana must be like the burbs for real. Like they must be the safest town in America, Bram. Because like these parents, these kids are lucky that they have the parents that, because like, remember when we was growing up, nigga? Like, dog, we never got this much freedom at 12, 13. This is a small town in the 80s that's crack free. Hey, I think they good. Yeah, I think they good, fam. But I'm just saying, like, imagine when we were growing up, like if we had this much liberty and freedom. Oh no, not even close. I mean, well, no, I have, we had those freedoms as that 9-10-year-old. Ride the bike, go out with your friends and that type of stuff. But yeah, not like that. Like being gone all night, like what? Yes. Oh, I'm at such and such house across town, like 20 minutes away. What? And not just a night, like days without seeing your parents. Yeah. Fam, no way. My mom would have been like, what? My mom would have been like, what? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, niggas, you gonna bring your ass home before the street lights is on? Exactly. Yeah. But I guess not in Hawkins, man. Oh, no, not in Hawkins. And I don't even get Lucas's parents, because Lucas's parents, they niggas. So I'm like, Luke, it'd be funny if like Lucas got to leave before the shit pops off every single time. But look, now you have his little sister out there in it too. So it's like, exactly. Exactly. What black parents are these? They must be whitewashed black parents, because they. Hey man, I don't know. They must be upside down too. I don't know what's going on.
They gotta be. They gotta be, because that's 2 kids out all hours of the night. I feel like Stranger Things really wants to tap into cultural things. Like, yo, just have Lucas leave every single time shit's about to happen. And not even because of some like, oh, the black man's running away before but no, like no, I gotta get home. Like my
mom said I gotta get home.
Yeah, before the street lights come on.
And then, now he's a teenager now too, so maybe they'll try and like switch up the parenting style.
Yeah, but no, it really plays to kind of like kids' movies in the '80s, like Goonies and stuff like that, where the parents just weren't around. It's focusing more on the kids. But so I get that, but it's just still funny that like literally parents don't know where kids are for days at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Overall, great show. Like you said, same sentiments. A for the season 3. I can't wait for Stranger Things 4, man. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
The countdown clock has been. Yeah. We're waiting 2 years.
Exactly.
The world to end. Trump will blow up the world in 2 years. By this rate. But,
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Stranger Things 4 countdown has officially began, man. So hopefully it's not too long of a wait. Raphael, my man, thank you for being a guest this week on the podcast. Having you again. I feel like we could do this for hours and hours on end, man.
Oh yeah, you already know, but I appreciate you for having me on, my brother.
No doubt, man. Before you go, man, go ahead and plug your social media, the show's social media, where they can find. I know you said it at the beginning, but go ahead and remind them, because it's about selling yourself, man. So go ahead and sell yourself.
Sure, no problem. The Mind of Ralph. That's my name on all major what is that? Social media. Yeah, that's what I'm on. You can find me. That's my name, The Mind of Ralph. But Oversaturated the podcast, we have our own website, oversatthepod.com. Oversat the podcast on Instagram, Oversaturated the podcast on Facebook, Oversat podcast on Twitter. That's where you can follow. If you want to follow my co-host at John B, JON 2 underscores and letter B on Twitter. His Instagram name is longer than the song verse, so I'm not going to give that. But that's all our social media handles. But yeah, just follow us, follow the movement. We appreciate you. We appreciate you for allowing me on, man.
Oh, no doubt, man, no doubt. And this is the second of many. So no doubt, man.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime you want to chop it off on any given Sunday, you're more than welcome to come back. This is kind of how we set this up during the week. You were just like, yo, I'm about to do a Stranger. I was about like, yo, I'm about to do a Stranger Things review. You were like, yo, I'm on it.
Yeah,
anytime, bro. Anytime, bro.
I love it.
Anytime. No doubt. But for the listeners, man, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. As always, without you guys, there is no podcast. So thank you for supporting the show each and every week. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at @DEmanuelBrown. Follow the podcast on Twitter at AGS Pod. On Instagram, AGS Podcast. Instagram, Manny at @DEmanuelBrown. Facebook, Any Given Sunday. Make sure you join AGS Nation. And then, of course, follow me on Facebook, Manuel Brown. And, of course, on Snapchat, MannyBro15. We're going to get up out of here. Enjoy our Sunday afternoon. By the time you hear this, it'll be Monday night or Sunday night, whenever you listen to your podcast. So hopefully you guys have a happy, safe, blessed week. And for my co-host, Raph, we are out of here. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Serious sound.
I'm Amanda Cerny.
And I'm Summer Rae.
And we want you to listen to our new podcast,
Oh Honey.
This is where our lovesick listeners write in their diary entries and we give our best advice.
Oh Honey covers anything from catching your crush's attention to living your best single life.
And we have some very special guests that you don't want to miss. So make sure you download our Oh Honey podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Or your favorite podcast app.
Oh Honey.
Oh Honey.
Oh Honey.
I want it!
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? If you love getting the chills, make sure to tune in to the Something Scary podcast. Come join me as I read the creepiest urban legends, folktales, and ghost stories from my friends, family, and listeners like you. Like stories about skinwalkers, powerful sorcerers with the ability to change their appearance into another animal so that they can kill more easily. And hearing about them draws them right to you. Oops. Subscribe to the Something Scary podcast in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.